In 1991, 8 researchers were sealed in Biosphere 2, and the world watched. Their only source of food was what they could grow in the agricultural sector. 4 men and 4 women, they were to grow all their food and recycle their wastes. Their only source of oxygen was from plants and algae and the terrestrial and oceanic ecosystems. February 20, 1992, the Biosphere 2 crew announced the birth of a new baby galago in the rainforest. The baby galago, believed to be about 3 weeks old, marked the first primate birth in Biosphere 2. The gestation period of the galagos, 130 days, suggests that the newborn was conceived in Biosphere 2. March 27, 1992, 6 months into its 2-year closure. The Biosphere 2 crew surpassed its first major milestone and set several world records, living inside closed ecological life support system longer than any predecessor. One member of the Russian crew of the Biosphere facility in Siberia lived 6 months inside. However, Bios 3 did not recycle waste and supplied less than 50% of the food.
The wild biomes of Biosphere 2 include a 20,000 square foot tropical rainforest, a 1 million gallon ocean, a grassland and thorn scrub savanna, a mangrove marsh, and a 15,000 square foot desert.
The domestic biomes include a 24,000-foot intensive agricultural biome and a habitat for 8 humans and for farmyard animals, goats, chickens, and pigs.
Below the various biomes lies an extensive so-called technosphere of tanks and pipes and wind machines and motherboards in symbiosis with the organic life forces of the biomes, so that together and guided by the human inhabitants who practice adaptive management, they make her go.
Intended Biosphere 2 to be a completely closed, self-sufficient system, like the Earth's own biosphere, where plants, animals, and humans could live indefinitely. In fact, it was the largest closed system ever constructed, and one of the most ambitious and complex Earth science experiments ever conceived.
Scientists from respected institutions, like the Smithsonian and the University of Arizona, signed on as paid consultants and helped the project gain credibility.
In the course of its 5 years of building, Biosphere 2 attracted highly favorable, indeed fascinated, worldwide attention from the media, the scientific community, European, Japanese, and Russian space agencies, as well as from NASA.
Robert Mosbacher visited the site. He called it a noble experiment.
But the biggest payoff from Biosphere 2 could be a better understanding of our world and of how we might someday live on other worlds.
In September of 1991, 8 people were sealed in Biosphere 2.
4 men and 4 women are spending their first night in Biosphere 2.
The goal was for Biosphere 2 to support its inhabitants without help from the outside world. They would grow enough food on their half-acre farm, while the 5 wilderness areas would naturally recycle their air and water. But within weeks of the experiment's launch, and with the media spotlight still shining, problems began to surface.
And one of the first things they began to notice is that oxygen began to go down and down and down. About halfway through this first 2-year mission, it got so low that they had to add oxygen in because they were concerned for the safety of the individuals inside.
Along with the oxygen loss, Biosphere 2 experienced a number of other problems, including massive plant and animal die-offs. The Biospherians had difficulty raising enough food to feed themselves and were constantly hungry.
While their home video shows them feasting, the truth is the Biospherians have had trouble growing enough food to sustain themselves.
By the end of the 2-year mission, the Biospherians had suffocated, starved, and gone mad. The group split into factions, disagreed over scientific goals, and barely spoke to one another.
People like to say because of sort of this initial falling out and loss of credibility that it was a failure. And no experiment is a failure. And that's what this was and is it's an experiment on a grand scale, had never been attempted before, and the engineering is absolutely amazing. But what they did learn, and probably in my opinion the single most important lesson, is really how little we truly understand Earth systems.
By 1993, the oxygen concentration in the air inside Biosphere 2 fell to 14%, roughly equivalent to that at the peak of a 17,500 feet mountain. atmospheric CO2 concentration rose to about 1700 ppm, similar to a level last seen approximately 50 million years ago shortly after the extinction of the dinosaurs. Nitrous oxide, a trace gas emitted from the microbial decomposition of soil nitrogen, rose to 79 ppm, a level that can reduce vitamin B12 synthesis to levels that damage the brain. Failed crops resulted in the restriction of their diets to 1,750 calories per day. Species extinctions were startling. 19 of the 25 vertebrate species in Biosphere 2 went extinct. Galapagos reproduced in Biosphere 2, but a number of pollinating insects were lost to ant predation and several bird species were lost. All pollinating species went extinct, and insect pests, like cockroaches, boomed. In practice, ants, a companion to one of the tree species in the rainforest, local to the area, had been unintentionally sealed in and had come to dominate. However, many of the pollinating duties were performed by those ants and cockroaches. In 1993, fresh air had to be pumped into Biosphere 2, the researchers were able to leave the system, and the test was over.